Thank you. Love those blabbers looking out for us.
I know. Let's just talk about that for a second. It's the first time in my life I've been comfortable with someone calling me a blabbermouth.
Yeah. Absolutely. I know we were kind of joking about that on Twitter. What are we called? Blabbers, blab girls, blabbing. Yeah. Blabbermouth is good.
It's hilarious.
Hey, Peg is here.
Yes. Thank you, Peg, for that little poke.
Yes.
I love this conversation. I love this topic. And I love that we're having it because we've kind of gone on similar journeys. They've taken totally different twists and turns. But, when we met, we were both working for major corporations, like 9 to 9, 9 days a week.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of doing the same thing, but for ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And it is fascinating to see that we're very paralleled in that sense of working for, as you said, a major corporation, and doing what we're doing now, just at a very different level. And then being able to transition that is such a fun story. I was hoping maybe we could start there where you could share a little bit of your journey from big corporate into becoming an entrepreneur. And when did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Wow. So I think I've had that kind of feeling of wanting to do things for myself for a very long time, like maybe since I was 4, and always kind of wanting to take control. It sounds like I may be having an issue with my camera. Can everybody see me?
I can see you, but yeah, I was just looking at the comments. It looks like there's some people that it's been going in and out. Yeah, but Scott, you're saying it looks all good? Scott is our resident blabber. He knows absolutely everything there is to know, I think, about blab at this point. So he says good for me, but he has crappy internet. So
okay, so then we'll just keep going. So remind me of, when was the first time I thought about being an Oh my goodness. Well, I think that the heart, when we start with kind of what the heart of being an entrepreneur is, that kind of helps state that. Like, I love to be creative. I love to share messages. I love to get whatever the product I'm passionate about out there. And sometimes it's my own and sometimes it's not. And so I don't know if I actually can classify myself as the traditional entrepreneur. But I've always loved taking an idea or a widget or a screenplay that I've written in my bedroom, to make it a reality. So how about you? You too?
For me, I got bit by the bug very, very early. I grew up in Southern California. And with that, I was very fortunate that I, oddly enough, live in the LA area, but had a nice sizable piece of land that I grew up on. And we had just about every fruit tree imaginable. And it was one of those situations where I don't know when the aha moment happened for me, but I was about 8 years old. We had a huge school right around the corner from us. And so there was just a stream of traffic every single day, twice a day, of course. And I was looking at all this fruit that would fall on the ground. And I thought, well, wait a second, people probably would love to have this rather than it just rotting on the ground. And I started to sell avocados and lemons. It was initially, I can't remember, I think it was 5 or 6 for $1. Just crazy, of course, now based off of what we're paying. But I just set up my own little stand right out on my driveway. And as parents would come by and pick up their kids, I would sell them, like I said, avocados and lemons. And it really started to snowball. Then it was oranges and it was peaches and it was figs and it was just everything that I had. And I realized pretty quickly, hey, this is kind of cool because I can walk down the street to the local store and I could get myself a pack of gum. I could get myself whatever I wanted. And I didn't have to ask my parents for money. The biggest thing that came out of that within, I think, 30, 60 days is I went out and bought myself, and now I'm dating myself, of course, a walkie-talkie, because that was like the coolest thing in the world. I could go in my backyard, play Wonder Woman with my walkie-talkie, and boss my sister around. And it was such an eye-opening moment, I think, going through all of this for me, realizing that, wow, I kind of control my own little world here. If I'm an entrepreneur, I have the opportunity to make my own money. I'm making my own hours. I'm interacting with people, which, hey, look how that transitioned into social media, right? So it's, mine started early. I did not dive into it right away. I went into radio. So I was in morning radio for a decade.
Oh, that's so shocking. Oh my God.
Yeah, loved it. Minus getting up at 3:00 in the morning. And decided that there was something bigger and better out there for me. And at the time was purchasing a home with my husband. Long story short, we went into the real estate industry, decided to buy a company from a friend and owned that for a solid 10 years as well, where we took that company we had 2 employees when we first started, and just 1 location, and ended up with over 100 employees in 4 locations. So wow. It was a fun ride while the going was good within the real estate industry. And again, decided that marketing had always really been my passion, and moved that direction. And then the opportunity with Better Homes and Gardens came along, and was there for a couple of years at the corporate level, like you were talking about. And then I realized it was time to get back to doing my own thing. So long story, but it's an interesting one to me, only because I don't think I connected all the dots for myself initially. And I think that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs probably have dealt with, where they're in a job that they enjoy, but they don't necessarily know why they are feeling this tug to do more, that there's more out there for them. And I think it has so much to do with listening to yourself and really knowing where you need to be, or being trusting of your gut to take that next step.
For sure. I think, one of the most pivotal moments for me when I decided to kind of leap out of corporate was that there were key players in my organization that just did not get what I was trying to do. They didn't understand social media. They didn't understand personal brand. And they were constantly fighting me to the point where, there was arguments and tears. And I thought, it's not supposed to be this way. And that was kind of like, I think, the universe's way of saying, sister, you're thinking too small. Stop doing what you're doing. And I think that's the entrepreneur tug that so many of us kind of just push off on, I'm comfortable, I'm safe, I get a paycheck, my insurance is covered, I'm just going to push through. But when that little voice gets so loud, you just cannot ignore it. I think that's when the true entrepreneur just says, okay, I'm done. I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to jump. And what's the worst that can happen is that I have to find a new job, and this one sucks anyways. So why not? It's like, why not just go for it? And so I think, you have to have gumption to be an entrepreneur today. 15 years ago, even, it was much more difficult to get a business license and to put a business plan together. Now you just jump on the internet and you're like, hey, I want to start a business. What do I need to do? And there's like thousands and millions of people going, here's the checklist. Click here, sign up for that. It's crazy.
Yeah, different world, right? It's very different than just the days prior, where it was kind of the Wild West. You had to figure it out on your own, and good luck trying to get there. Because I think there was a big difference too in how we got started, and who was there to support us. It seems to me that there was a lot more, I'm going to hang on to everything I know and not share it with my competition, where I really believe that the online world, social media has broken down a lot of those barriers, where we're here to help each other, here to support each other, and we want other people to succeed. Very different landscape, I think.
For sure. Well, I think that we're in an environment now that applauds people for helping for free. And let's just be real. It's like content is giving your advice and your ideas and your story for free on the internet. And we applaud that. we're now trying to find ways to leverage all of this free content that we've created to build these businesses. And I think that's the really cool part of it. But what's interesting, and you and I kind of talked about this a little bit, is that the millennial generation, or that, the 20s and 30 somethings, aren't the ones flocking to be entrepreneurs and startups. The stats that I just saw were like 55% of startup founders are Gen Xers. 55%.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Like, we're finally going, yes.
Yeah. Well, you said, being pivoting within your world. And I think that just screams how willing we are to make that pivot, especially given all that's available to us. As you said, it's just so much easier in a sense to grasp what it's supposed to be, what the real world of being an entrepreneur is, and yet it's harder than ever. And that was something we chatted a little bit about yesterday, which is, what is the reality of being an entrepreneur in 2015 and now heading soon into 2016? What, in your opinion, what do you think that really looks like?
Well, I think that, part of the equation in deciding what actually looks like is kind of figuring out where you fit in that landscape of what an entrepreneur is. Are you going to start up a company that you eventually want to sell? Or are you going to start up a company that you really are the essence of that company? And I think that now both are considered entrepreneurs. Whereas I think before one was just a creative, somebody who was a speaker or an author, and now speakers and authors are actually entrepreneurs running these beautiful businesses. So I think that the landscape is that if you have tenacity to really put yourself out there, and you are not afraid to share your story and to really live aligned with your core values and follow and build a business that's around your passions, like, the sky is the limit with being an entrepreneur today. You can do it in your house. You could do it on a beach. You could do it on the freaking top of the Eiffel Tower with a glass of champagne if you want.
Absolutely.
I mean, hello, this is just, what a wonderful time to be alive.
Isn't it though?
Time to be alive.
Yeah. Well, it's that whole idea of work from anywhere. You can literally do whatever you want to do from, as you said, from your favorite location and accomplish just as much as you ever could before, if not more. Just because of all that is available to us. And you touched on something I want you to kind of back up to, because I love when you talk about this. You get a little fired up. Talk about the core four. You were talking about it being passionate, but tell us a little bit about that and what that means.
Sure. So the core four is really the core of what I write about and speak about, and really truly what I am living out loud right now in this moment of my life. And I'm so blessed to be able to do that because I believe in it. So the core four really is the foundation of who we are as a person, our core values. Have you defined the 11 words that are truly your values? Do you value adventure, or do you value, peace and quiet at home? Do you value relationships, or are you more of a loner? Really, what is it that you value? And usually it's what you're trying to nurture in yourself, what you're constantly striving to be better at, and what you seek and what is so deliciously attractive in the people who are part of your core tribe. So, have you done that? Have you really gone through that process? Because when you actually live aligned inside those core values, then you can kind of step over to the second one, which is your passions, or I like to call it the soul tank, right? So what do you love to do? And, so often, especially in the United States, we talk about things like the first question we ask somebody we've never met is, what do you do for a living? Ugh, I can't stand that. We need to stop that. Let's make a revolutionary change in how we introduce ourselves at parties and start with, what do you love to do for fun? I would much rather start a conversation talking about wine tasting, yoga, dog walking, hanging out. I mean, I would so rather start a conversation there than I wrote a book or I speak for a living, because although I think that's interesting, it's not something that most people are going to connect to right away, but most people can connect to wine or dogs or yoga or whatever.
Yep. Connect to them all.
I know, right? And
Uh-huh.
that's these things so much more fun, because when we're talking about it, we're sipping a glass of wine thinking, ooh, what can we talk about? Let's try this new thing. And because we both love and are passionate about technology and change, we can have a glass of wine talking about the technology and changes and all of those wonderful things while our dogs are sitting on our laps. And when they bark, it doesn't bug us because we love them.
Yeah.
And
as mine barks in the background.
Yes, as mine are like howling in the room.
My killer chihuahua. Yeah.
Yes, I know, our twinsies. In the third part of the core four, which is the part that at this point, I'm so passionate about helping people get over this hump of figuring out what their purpose is. Because when I would teach this and when I would do one-on-one consulting in the past, it was like people get stuck on, I'm not Mother Teresa. Like, what is my purpose? It sounds so epic, and it's usually so simple. I always say you can say it in 11 words or less. Mine is, I fire people up and into their greatness. I can't help it. I do it with words. I do it with actions. I do it typing things out. It's something where that's what I get up to do every day. I'm like, who am I going to get to fire up today?
Yeah.
And it's not, there's other things that I do, but that is at the core. I've always been that kind of cheerleader, like, go, go, go. Like you have the power to get out of your own freaking way. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, then be an entrepreneur. Stop sitting in the safe spot and get out of your own way.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the third piece. And then when you take those three, that the core values, the passion and the soul tank part of our bodies, and the purpose, you can create the niche and your true niche. And I love to think of it as your truth telling statement, right? It's who you really love serving are the people who are passionate about the same things you are. So start there. You love working with women in business. It's okay to say that out loud. There's billions of women in business. You're not cutting yourself off. And then talking about the things you love to solve, the problems you love to solve, and what you're doing. So if you're a problem solver, then you say, I love to solve people's problems. I love to work with women in business who truly need to be fired up, who are waking up in the day and they're kind of sluggish. They're not sure why. Like, what the heck is going on here? I love my job, but I'm not loving my job.
Yeah.
And, you get those four together, and especially for entrepreneurs who don't have a huge team surrounding them in person every day, when you get those core four together, you can start seeking other people online. Like we have each other, Rebecca, that fill those needs for you. On Blab. Hello. This is such a great way, right? This is a great platform for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and you make me think too, as you talk about kind of owning what it is you love to do, what it is that you've always wanted to step into. How do people truly embrace that? Because I think there's a ton of fear in stepping out and becoming an entrepreneur. It is scary, scary stuff. People have always asked me, how did you just buy a business out of the blue? And I said, well, I guess I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. And fear drives me in a different direction. It's that whole idea of, if people tell me I can't, if I'm feeling a little queasy, like I'm scared, then I absolutely have to do it. I've got to push myself out there and just face that fear. I could totally flop. It could be an enormous failure, which, goodness gracious, we've all had many, many, many of those. You don't become a successful entrepreneur just because all of a sudden you woke up out of bed and you decided to be an entrepreneur. And yeah, you have a lot of ideas in between that just didn't quite work out. So how do you, when you work with people that are really trying to find their purpose, how do you help them step into that and push past that debilitating fear?
Well, I think the fear sometimes, at least for me, the fear of leaving the comfort zone of having, the corporate job, was probably the worst fear in that second step of, starting my own businesses now. Right. And I think that for me, it really, and how I translate this into working with clients is you have to just jump right in the middle of that fear and say, I need to flip it. I need to flip the heck out of this fear, because that is actually that fear is what is going to catapult you into being the best you can be. And I'll tell you, one of the easiest ways for folks to kind of get out of their own way when they're trying to figure out, like, what am I going to do, is to not do it alone. Like, stop trying to do everything alone. Some of the most successful entrepreneurs have a partner. And this is such a key thing, is being an entrepreneur doesn't mean you have to be solo. Yeah. I think that you can, even if you're not going to do the same business with somebody, go through the process with someone else. Start your businesses at the same time. Help each other out. Don't go it alone, because that being alone and afraid is like a combination for like all the things, all the F words we don't want to use, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So find your tribe that's going to go through this next phase with you. It's a killer journey if you actually can get out of that place of fear. And so for most people, fear of walking into a room isn't walking into the room, it's walking into the room alone. So fear of walking into entrepreneurship isn't necessarily, I'm scared to start my own company. It's, oh my gosh, I'm going to be all by myself. Yeah. What am I going to do? What if this, what if this fails? Well, what if? It's not the end of the world.
No, it's funny. One of the gals that I actually bought the company from many years ago used to say to me all the time, they can kill you, but they can't eat you. And I used to say to her, what in the heck does that mean? I just didn't get it. And as I became an entrepreneur, I really understood it, because we have the power to step into that fear. And yeah, okay, so we've got every idea in the world of what could happen going on. And people could tell you all day long that you can't make it work. It's a stupid idea. It's ridiculous. Your idea will never fly. But if you know in your heart of hearts that this is where you are meant to be, you've got to recognize that and figure out how to get yourself there. And I think one thing that you said that really resonated with me was finding your tribe. And something that was so important to me as I was starting out as an entrepreneur was to find that tribe, but also to find the tribe that would shine that mirror of truth on me when I was having, negative self-talk, or I was kind of off in the stars and not necessarily thinking clearly. You do need those people that know you well, that feel very, very comfortable in telling you like it is, even when it sucks and doesn't feel good. And that are going to be there to rally and support you no matter what, because I really believe that has been the foundational piece that has pulled me through just any situation.
Well, and you know where there's gold, there's so much gold in what you just said. It's like, okay, I want to hit the rewind button and like, stop, go.
Well, we can, since somebody reminded me, or multiple people reminded me to hit record.
I think the beauty of finding the right people is, and it's also important to remember, this doesn't have to be a massive group of people. For me, starting my own business where I was speaking, like the bulk of what I do for D11 is speaking. The bulk of what we do at Women on Wine TV is speaking. We're giving our thoughts. We're using our words to share our opinions, our thoughts. And I was a little fearful at first that, I'm a truth teller. Like I have a filter, but it's a very, very faint filter, because I truly believe, like, I'm here to tell you how to get out of your own way. I'm here to remind you of how to be great. And if you spell a word wrong, I'm not going to bully you online, but I am going to say, hey, if you want to be a writer, you probably should spell there correctly. So honestly, here's what I did. I started using sassy and moxie in all of my personal branding. all of my quotes are called Moxie memos. And you don't hear the word Moxie and think, oh, she's going to be so sweet and she's going to rock me in my chair, or sassy. And they're both fun, but they opened me up to being very comfortable saying, sister, back the bus up. Like, where are you going with this? You said you were going here. Wow. Like, let's pivot, let's figure out where you really want to go so that you're not all over the place. And I think that that's something that a lot of people can actually implement themselves. They might not need to be, such a rambunctious truth teller, but there might be other things that they really do want to do in their business. Just start using those as part of your personal branding words. Start telling people that's what they can expect from you, and then they'll be comfortable getting it from you. They'll be like, they'll be open, and guess what? They'll start coming to you for that. I have people all the time going, okay, I really need the truth. I'm like, all right, bring it on. Get ready. Put your blinged out 5-point harness on and let's go.
Yeah, that is so funny. Well, and I think what you're saying is you've got to find your own truth. You've got to figure out what feels right to you, because obviously you have this big, beautiful, bold personality that people, I think, just naturally gravitate towards. But that's not going to work for everybody. It doesn't work for me. Obviously, we're very different personalities.
Right.
And you have to be true to you in everything that you do. And it sounds kind of cheesy, I guess, but it really is the truth, because if you get into business, if you start talking to potential clients or customers, if you get online and you're trying to be something that you're not, oh man, it's exhausting. There's just no way to keep that up.
No. And you know what? The reality is, and that's the whole part of that core 4 process, it's getting to understand yourself from the inside out so that you're comfortable and confident to attract the ideal people you're meant to serve. And guess what? That's not everyone. None of us can serve billions of people. We have a small group of people, and small can mean millions, but it's not billions, okay? Yeah. And so when we actually tell our truth and we're really true to our values and what we're passionate about. And I have to give this example. If you are a dog lover and don't enjoy cats, for heaven's sakes, don't share cat videos. Like, this is like, oh, this is so great. Oh, I love cats. And then they come to your home and no way. There's dogs everywhere. There's dog hair everywhere. Or even
like
worse.
Common sense, right? But but it goes to show how you get caught up in what people are sharing and what people are talking about and what people are doing. And
what's popular. And so you're trying to go for what the popular posts are. You're losing the people who are truly meant to find you. And the reality is that's at the end of the day what matters. It doesn't matter how many likes or comments or shares you're getting if that's not leading to you building a life that fires you up. I mean, if it's just a popularity contest, what good is that? I mean, really, it's just blows my mind.
Yeah. Well, and I think that kind of transitions us into something else that we've talked about multiple times, which is, as an entrepreneur, it can feel as if you need to be everything to everybody. It can feel like you need to cast that wider net. You need to take on everything you possibly can because everybody is a potential client, when in reality, what you're saying is exactly what I know both of us believe, which is the riches are in the niches, and that you should. The more you niche down, truthfully, the better off you're going to be and the better you're going to serve those people that you are passionate about. So what kind of advice can you give entrepreneurs that they want to live in their niche, they want to live in their sweet spot, but they're scared half to death to do it, Deb, because they think if I go big, if I go wide instead of deep, there's going to be more business out there for me. And what ends up happening is what? They're miserable. They're working with the wrong people. It becomes that snowball effect of all of a sudden, I hate my business because I didn't set those expectations for me or the people that I'm working with. So how do they get there?
Yeah, one of the fun exercises that I used to do when I did a lot of the one-on-one consulting was I would say, write down the 5 clients that you've recently had that you loved working with? Like, just write their names down and then tell me why. Why did you love working with them? And then let's flip that over to, who were the clients that sucked the living life out of you? Who every time they sent you a text or called you on the phone, you were like, no, ignore. Yeah. And then write down why. And so they go through that exercise, and then I say, which do you want more of?
Yeah.
And it's obviously, everyone says, well, I want more of the 5 people I loved working with. And I said, well, if you want that, to manifest that group of people, you have to let the scarcity of losing those people go. Because if you continue down the path, you're always going to have 50% of your business that's sucking the life out of you. And you're not going to be able to attract more of the people that you really do love. And usually they see things like, oh yeah, well, I met that client. I love them because I met them on the golf course. And guess what? Golfing is in their soul tank list. Or that client, I met them at the wine tasting room. Oh, guess what? Wine is on their soul tank list. So it starts to show the reality of what kind of living with those core 4 does for you. And I think once you feel the success that you didn't actually realize you were already having, it's easier to move forward through the scarcity side and work into the abundance.
Well, and it sounds to me like what you're talking about it's really a process. You've got to figure out what your core values are, what matters most to you, and who are those people?
Robert. It's Robert. Mwah.
Gotta love you. And that's something thank you, Sue Zimmerman, that I did my first Blab with. I had no idea what those were. So kind of a fun little way to high five people here on Blab. If you're new to Blab, like I am, like probably most of us are, just trying to feel our way through. Exactly. But it seems like it's definitely a process. And for me, I call it yucky work because as an entrepreneur, there's that internal stuff. Yeah. That you're like, ugh, I don't want to figure out, what my, my strengths are fun, but what my weaknesses are. I don't want to figure out what it is about me that is a challenge, and that I've got to figure out how to manage that on a daily basis. And I think having a business coach almost my entire career has been an integral part of really getting to the heart of that. But I think your tribe can also be that for you as well. Don't you think that your tribe can be those people that can help you do some of that yucky work? It's just not so much fun, but it's so totally rewarding when you get to that point where you're like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. This is why I'm here. This is why I was put on earth. These are the people I want to serve. It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, I think that one of the interesting things, and if we go back to kind of the forgotten generation of Gen X, one of the interesting things is we make great entrepreneurs because we're very independent. We kind of grew up latchkey kids. We all kind of raised each other. We learned, we're like the MTV generation, right? And so technology was kind of part of our growing up, but not like it is today. Yeah. And so we have a great skill set for being an entrepreneur. We embrace change. We learn technology pretty well because it's been part of most of our lives. And we enjoy being with other people to a certain extent. We don't have to be with other people. We're okay hanging out in front of the TV by ourselves, but we love playing Simon Says. So we're great entrepreneurs, except for when that independent part pops out. Yeah. And we want to do it all. Like, I want to do everything myself.
Exactly.
And that is, we have had several conversations about this over the years. It's the control freak that just comes out and says, but if I let somebody else do my books, but if I let somebody else do that, oh my gosh, I won't have control. And the reality is, if you don't let go of the stuff that you're not great at, you cannot excel in the things that you were meant to do your best work in. And at what point did we lose the ability to say, I'm not good at that?
Yeah.
And I think we're just now ready to do that, right? I think now we're, in this awesome phase of our lives, and we're okay with saying, I don't know that. I don't want to know that. I want to pay someone to do that because they love it.
Yes.
They love doing my laundry. I don't want to do my laundry. They love it.
Yes, absolutely. And Robert Stern, thanks for joining us.
You have no idea how happy I am to see both of you.
Oh, thank you for joining us there. And I was gonna say real quick here, we have just a whole lot of amazing people, entrepreneurs here that feel free to jump in. We'll kind of do a roundtable here, but we'd love to continue this conversation around entrepreneurship, around the idea of just living and breathing your passion. And Robert, good night. Can we just call you like the king of live streaming at this point? You're all over the place.
Right?
I'll tell you, my life completely changed since March 27th.
Wow.
Periscope came on, and I've been nonstop since. But
yes,
I have to give props to the redhead here. Because of her, does she remember this?
You're going to make me cry.
And it even has her name on it.
You're
because
so sweet,
we've been
Robert.
talking so long, and she drilled this into my head as part of her coaching and everything else.
That's amazing.
She's unbelievable. I mean, you both are. I mean, what you've done with your stuff going on, we've started out with the blogging and built up, and Miss D11 Force over here in the Northwest, and then throw in our other two friends that we're very good friends with Ms. Kelly and Katie. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah,
and all you guys are on the West Coast. And I'm stuck here on the East Coast.
Well, at least you're not in a foot of snow right now. But isn't it amazing? It's just so fun to watch the evolution of people's brands, of just the way that we're able to support people, exactly what we're talking about here today, in getting people from where they are to where they want to be, helping them figure out, okay, so I'm right here right now, but I know that isn't where I want to be forever. But I know I've got to do the tough work to get to that next stage. And it's being able to come in and be that person. Robert, you're such an amazing supporter of that in really helping people get to where they want to be.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I was up and down for a long time. I mean, obviously, my personal situation with the divorce and everything with my daughter, but my whole business was up and down. And for some reason, Deborah said it to me about end of April. She goes, holy cow, what live streaming has done for you. It literally, because I'm not like you guys, the writer. I can honestly, and this is part of what I know Deborah talks about, understanding what you're capable of doing and understanding what you're not capable of doing. And I'm not the physical writer for blogs and things like that because, I hate to write. But once live streaming came out for me, that was it. It was just like no hold barred. I'm using this. I found it. I was like, oh my God, I love this platform. And Deborah hated it because she was getting chimed probably every hour because I kept broadcasting more and more and more. She's like, what are you doing on there? I keep getting tagged.
What's happening?
So, I think that's a great point. And we do have another open seat. So if there's anybody that wants to hop in and kind of chime in here with us, we'd love to hear from you. But there is so much going on these days with the online world, with blogging, with social media, with, oh, wait a second, I have to run my business and actually make a living. Mm-hmm. How are you, we'll start with you, Robert, how are you managing it all? What does your typical day look like? And maybe give us an idea of some tools or your system for keeping it all under control.
You have a huge fan. Who is this guy he's been like nonstop. There's almost 1,000 little high fives from this dude.
Holy cow.
I don't know who it is. So my day, it varies day to day. I mean, obviously, if I have more client calls or things that are going on, but typically my morning routine is about, after I get Raina off to school, it's more about me and sitting here, like I started actually the night before, where I try to plan out what I'm going to do for that day. Somebody instilled in me to make sure I have 2 goals and a personal goal each week. A redhead. But I actually took it further, that I do now 2 business goals and a personal goal daily. And they can be small ones. And that's the key, just those small little things. So I might put it out that, all right, I'm going to spend more time on the phone today, or I'm going to spend more time on Blab today, or I'm going to do more time on Periscope. But I see what my day consists of, what my clients are going to be, what I need to do. A lot of my live streaming really doesn't happen until the afternoon and evening. There it is. Focus equals flourish.
Yep. You got it.
She instilled it on me, and it totally brought me to different levels.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's not to interrupt you, but I was gonna welcome Jan, right? Jan Landy. Do you know Jan?
Yes, Robert. I met
awesome.
Night I was on.
I know.
I was on this, and he impressed me. You know, I didn't know who he was before, but it was like he was doing a marathon. He was trying to stay up there like as long. He wanted to break a record, I think.
So Jan, tell us a little bit about you. Are you an entrepreneur?
Soundbroker.com about 18 years ago. To go back before that, in 1974, I was living in Los Angeles. I was living in New York. I wanted to be in the music business. Everything was in California. I got on a plane, not knowing anybody. Had business cards printed that I was in the music business, and in April of 1974, I got my first job working for Led Zeppelin on the road doing video production work.
Wow. How cool is that? You talk about manifesting.
Most of my life.
That is incredible.
From there, I went to other things. I was the performing arts director of the City of Los Angeles Street Scene Festival. I went to work for a guy by the name of Robert Stigwood, who produced Saturday Night Fever in Greece, just to mention 2 of his projects. And I was the director of A&R, so I worked on both of those records. I worked with Eric Clapton, the Bee Gees. Andy Gibb, unfortunately, was my personal project. And unfortunately, what happened with him is unfortunate, totally unfortunate.
Yeah.
Anyway, about 18 years ago, I was doing stand-up comedy, starving to death. Not going to get into that. But a friend of mine called me up and said, hey, I've got a job for you. I thought it was performing, working for Disney. He says, I need you to sell some gear. I said to him, I can't do that. I'm a comedian. His answer was, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard you say. He says, now cut the shit. When you wanted to work for Prince, did I tell you that I was a comedian? When you wanted to work for Phil Collins, did I tell you I was a comedian? When you wanted to work for Elton John, did I tell you I was a comedian? Now you're going to help him. So I went and helped him, and then one thing led to another, and next thing I know, I am now the largest reseller of used concert production equipment in the world. And so that's what we do. Now, hearing what you're saying. What?
No, I'm just telling her I'm going to hop out so somebody else can come in.
Okay.
But I love seeing you.
I love you, man. I love you. I love watching you, too.
Jen, thank you, Jen.
Yeah, thank you. Whoop.
See ya.
So anyway, this is what I want to share with people. Number one is that the universe only rewards people that don't give up. If you give up, you're done. That's all. As some people might say, it's not over until the fat lady sings, you know? And you're in the game until you stop playing the game. And there are 4 rules for success that I will share. But before I do that, I'm just going to say this. When I started Soundbroker.com, nobody was doing what I was doing. The internet was just getting started. eBay, nobody even knew what eBay was. And people were telling me, you're on glue. You must be on heroin. How could you possibly think that there's going to be a need for what you do? But I had this belief system that I was doing the right thing. And the rest is history. Now, right now, I'm going through another metamorphosis in my career, taking Soundbroker to the very next level, which again, and now all these doubters are coming in and saying, why is anybody going to do that? Nobody's going to do that. And yet, we're moving on and on.
Right.
So
when did you start your first business? So I'm curious, like we were talking, do you hear an echo?
Nope.
Okay, it's just on my side. We were talking earlier about starting a business now versus starting a business 10 or 15 years ago is so different. So what do you see different about having what it takes today to start a business like you have versus in the past?
Okay. Hi. Well, the first thing I will say to you is this, is that you need an idea. You need an idea because, and ideas are come and go, and an idea is only as good as its execution. So that's the number one thing you need is an idea. And I don't care whether it's if the first guy that came up with the wheel, when they said, why would we need a wheel when we got this rod we could roll things on? So there's always building that better mousetrap. But it doesn't even have to be a better mousetrap. It just has to be something you believe in. And if you believe in it enough, all you need is one other person to believe in you. And that's when it starts, because you get one other person, then they tell somebody else, and they tell somebody else, and that starts to roll. Today, it's easier to start a business than ever before because the internet is here. You have an idea, somebody hears what I'm saying, boom, next thing you know, I love that idea. I'll get in touch with that guy. I want to buy it. I want to do it. I want whatever it is. So it's so much easier today than it was in the past. But the rules are the rules of the universe do not change.
On how to change the code.
I love it. Yeah, that's fantastic.
What is
Hey, Jana? Is it Jana?
Yeah.
I like to say this. You could break the rule of man. In other words, you could be driving in your car, you get to a stop sign, you go through it. And if there's not another car there and not another policeman or whatever, you broke the law, you got away with it. There's no harm, no foul. If you break the rule of the universe, you will be immediately punished. One of the things that Earl Nightingale says is he says it like this. There were these Africans on the back of a pickup truck, and they decided they wanted to get off, but they didn't realize the force of gravity. But the second they stopped off, gravity took over immediately and slowed down their motion. That's a fact. So the rules of business is really simple. Number one is you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself as more than anything else. You got to believe in what you're doing, and you got to believe in yourself. Number two, the number two rule is this. The number two rule is that you've got to do something for that goal, for whatever you want to fulfill yourself with. You've got to do it every day. Every day you got to do something for yourself all the time. Number three, or actually number two, and that was number three. Number two is all of the people in your inner circle have to believe in you as much as you believe in yourself. You have to have that. If you don't have that support right around you, it's easy to fail. Whether it's a diet, for example, let's say you're on a diet, and then one of your best friends says, "Hey, how about some whipped cream? Let's go out for cheesecake, whatever." That's not supporting you.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So they have to support you. And in business, I have an idea. You don't want anybody to say to you, like they said to me, "You're on glue, man. That stuff is never going to work." Who would want to do? Meanwhile, our best year we were doing $7 million in sales. I had 9 people working for me. But
that's amazing, Jan. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to make sure we can get some other people and give them time. We've only got like 8 minutes.
Because the last step.
Yeah, you bet. Go for it.
And then I'll take a walk.
You go for it.
The last step is that you cannot have a safety net. If you are doing something, whatever it is, and you believe in yourself, and you're doing it every day, and you're circling around, you believe you've got to go for it, and you can't be thinking that, man, I've got a job on the side, I've got this thing. You've got to give it all, and if you don't give it all, the universe will never let you succeed. And that's what I have to say.
Awesome word, Jan.
Thanks for letting me in.
Thank you. Yeah, great to meet you. Jana.
Yes.
You're up. Hello, from Jan to Jana.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, so tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah.
So I am an accidental entrepreneur. I started a business. Well, when I say accidental, I mean that I was always working for someone else, and I never really set out to become an entrepreneur, if you will. It was never really my goal, one day I'll be an entrepreneur. But at one point I had an idea, and I had an inspiration and a motivation. meaning I had an idea and a reason to try to get out of the corporate world, which was basically to spend more time with my daughter. And I had an idea and I went for it. And I'm sitting here at my headquarters in Salt Lake City, Utah, at my company that I've been running now since the middle of 2008.
Oh, awesome. What do you do? What do you sell?
So I founded a daily deal e-commerce site. It's called steals.com. We have 4 daily deal shopping sites for women. A lot of people have heard of the first one I started, which is babysteals.com. We also have Kid Steals, Scrapbook Steals, and we have one that sells all products for women called SheSteals.com, which is everything from clothing to accessories, to jewelry, bags, anything that women would love.
Awesome.
Yeah. But I had the idea when I was working in the corporate world and had been, my whole career. And I was pregnant with my 3rd child, and it had been 6 years since I'd had a baby. Long story short, I was looking online for the latest and greatest products for baby. And at the time, it was 2006, and e-commerce was very infantile, if you will. It was just a picture and a price. And I was looking for a lot more value. I wanted to support companies that made quality products, and I wanted to look for, I wanted to know the latest and greatest, but there was just nothing out there that really spoon-fed it to a busy mom like me. So when I discovered that there wasn't a website like that, I decided to create this daily deal philosophy, because I always also wanted it at a smoking hot deal. And this was long before Groupon. There was no daily deal website for women. We were literally the first. But the interesting thing was, I follow Robert Stern, and so that's why I got the notification. So I know I came in late to the game, but I'm very opinionated about entrepreneurship because, again, I didn't intend to become an entrepreneur. It just happened. But I have a lot of opinions on what that looks like and how it feels to really be one and that sort of thing. So I figured I'd chime in. And ironically, I'm giving a presentation in 1 week, and I just got off the phone with the organizer of the event. It's for the Salt Lake City Social and Search Engine Marketing Conference. And I'm speaker that day on the very topic of, it's called Entrepreneurship, Do You Have What It Takes? So I saw your blab intro, and I thought, oh my word, that's crazy. Like, that's so cool. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah. I'm preparing a presentation on that very thing right now.
There are no coincidences, right?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah. What an awesome story. We lost
Samantha.
We did. Yeah. So until somebody else jumps in or Samantha comes back, what would be your one piece of advice to anybody that's just getting started and jumping into this big, scary world of being an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So I think I get asked that question a lot, but I think the biggest thing that I find with entrepreneurs that fail, and I don't consider myself a success necessarily because you could fail at any time, right? I mean, I've learned a lot, but success I think is continual, and you have to prove yourself every single day. And I think that's part of being an entrepreneur is the biggest thing that I try to get across from anybody that asks me, well, could I start my own company and be an entrepreneur? That you have to work so ridiculously hard. It never stops. It never goes away. And like you said earlier, you really have to find a way to take care of yourself. But you really are working for, people say, do you work for yourself? I mean, how awesome is it that you work for yourself? It's like, well, I don't. I work for my customers and my employees. And so I think the biggest thing is I try to get across that you have to work so hard, and that you also have to be very comfortable making every decision. You have to realize that there's a lot of risk involved, and you really have to be a jack of all trades, if you will. You need to know a little about a lot, right? Because in starting an online business, as an example, you need to understand all the way down to what programming language are you going to code your website in, and to what payment processor am I going to use, and how do I become certified with all the security and everything, UX, UI, accounting, social media, finance, all of these things. And you really have to realize when you become an entrepreneur and you decide to, that you have to be comfortable making every decision, meaning you've got to really understand a little about a lot.
Yeah. And we were talking about earlier about how that's how kind of it is at the beginning. And that's why it's so important to have partners and a tribe that has multiple skill sets that you can learn from. And you can say, I'm thinking about this. And they go, no, don't use that commerce program. Use this one. Or because you can't possibly know everything about everything you need to know. So that's great word.
Yeah, and I say, and if you don't, then you have to be the most resourceful person that you know, right?
Right.
Because, like you just said, it is not only what you know, but it's who you know, and you have to have great relationships with people that you can reach out and ask those questions to, and that kind of thing. Hi,
Robert. I'm only chiming in for a quick second because she already kicked me out once, but Jana is underselling herself for her accomplishments.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, and there's yet another thing we do as entrepreneurs, right? You know,
right. What she's accomplished. I mean, 7 days a week, 4 daily deals going out. They have to fulfill the orders. They have their own warehouse for all the goods that are coming in. And I'm going to let Jana say it, because why are you coming to Periscope Summit late again on that Tuesday? What is happening that day?
Because I'm nominated for the Utah Women in Tech Awards, and there's
wow! Congratulations!
Yeah. I just wanted that out in public because she undersells herself.
This is something that's so huge. I actually wrote a blog post on this earlier this week on Women's Equality Day, which it's like some women got the right to vote that day. Anyways, I could just go down a rabbit hole. But one of the things that I was talking about is the call to action is women actually embracing men and women, embracing and encouraging them. We always want to go, no, don't tell, or we're embarrassed about something. And so you, as friends, like Robert's doing, we have to do that for the other entrepreneurs in our world, because it's not easy to toot your own horn. We know you have to, but it's so much easier when someone else tells your story. So, think about that every single day. Find somebody in your world that's an entrepreneur that could really use your help, and share their blog post, share about their website, share their success story of being nominated. That's how we can build this entrepreneur community that truly takes that the small business to that next level, where it's not just small business, it's collaborative business.
I mean, I met her on Periscope, and then we moved it over to Blab, so we were able to see each other at the same time and not just one-sided. And now we're working on a show together, actually. But Deborah's going to laugh because it's not a show about me and Jana. It's a show of our daughters, Raina and Jane are the same age. They're going to be doing their own kids Blab show for kids.
Awesome.
How cute. What a great idea.
2 9-year-old girls taking over Blab on a Saturday or Sunday morning.
That's awesome. Well, okay, so
I'm popping back up.
I'm going to transition us because you've been awesome. We are at the top of the hour, and we were going to keep this to an hour so we can respect everybody's time. Get on to the rest of your day. But wow, Jana, thank you so much for joining us. And thanks to everybody that did. Robert, of course, you're amazing. But Deb, thank you just for amazing wisdom that you always share, and in just helping us, keeping us focused, as you said, on what are we passionate about? What is our purpose? Why are we here? What are we supposed to be doing? And then, Jana, your piece was so complimentary, because I think it's that tactical aspect of, okay, great, here I am, world. I'm an entrepreneur. Now what the heck do I do? And how do I take that next step? And so thank you both for not even knowing you were going to just so bookend each other, I think, in what you shared here today. But Jana, did you tell everybody, I might have missed it when I was reading some comments, where they can find you besides best way to connect with you on Twitter or wherever else?
Yeah, you could go to, I have a kind of a connect with me page on my website. So just go to steels.com/Jana Francis, and it'll have all the ways that people can contact me.
Awesome.
And I follow Twitter like crazy, so that's
Don't we all? Yeah. Well, and Deb, tell us how we can find you. Thank you.
Well, yeah, probably my website's the easiest way, but you can just find me on Twitter at Deborah11. I'm here at Deborah11. I'm on Instagram as at Deborah11, and that's Deborah11. And yeah, definitely connect with me. I love having conversations about helping you get out of your way. So if you're feeling a little stuck, I'm happy to have the 140 characters back and forth with you. So don't be shy, but be ready for truth.
Yes, and that is the truth. Oh, look, Brian Fanzo is here. Since we're getting ready to wrap up. Now we've got Robert Stern and Brian here. So much live streaming and just knowledge bursting within our blab. But anyway, thank you to everybody for joining us here. This was my first blab. Deb, your first blab. Yeah. Obviously not yours, Jana. Well, I was a guest, but my first one actually running it. So tons of fun, and thank you to everybody that joined us. We're going to be doing a ton more of these. I mentioned at the beginning that I am the global brand ambassador for Post Planner, so be on the lookout. We are diving in pretty hot and heavy into Blab and Periscope and just live streaming as I think the opportunities as entrepreneurs, as business owners are endless. Really, the sky is the limit.
Love it.
You can connect with me, same on Twitter at Rebecca Radice, and make sure to check back here.
I love that. Oh, just one more thing real quick.
Yeah.
Kelly and my business partner at womenonwine.tv are actually going to start doing some blabbing. And Rebecca, be on lookout for your invite. Have your wine ready. You too, Sister Jana. It's been awesome chatting with you.
Fun.
So much fun. Yes. So thank you. All right, everybody.